Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine checking your email and seeing a message, from the government
Yeah.
telling you you have to leave the country or face deportation.
Wow. Sounds intense.
Right. Especially if you're actually a U.S. citizen.
A U.S. citizen's got one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happened to this immigration attorney, Hubert Montoya. It really highlights the kind of crazy situation we're diving into today.
That's quite a start. And it points to how quickly things seem to be changing, doesn't it? The Trump administration revisiting, well, altering Biden-era immigration policies.
That's it. And Hubert Montoya's story getting that notice, it's like an early sign of how wide-reaching these changes could be. Maybe unexpected, too.
Definitely unexpected for a citizen.
So for this deep dive, we're really trying to get our heads around these cancellations, specifically the CBP One permits and, other related policy shifts.
Yeah.
We want to figure out, what is CBP One exactly? Who's getting hit by these cancellations? What's the process, or lack thereof? And just the uncertainty it's causing.
And what are we looking at source-wise?
Mostly a news article that came out recently. It covers these changes and talks to some people caught up in it.
Got it. So looking at the big picture, this feels like a major shift in immigration enforcement priorities.
Yeah.
It's hitting people who thought they had some kind of legal status here.
Yeah.
So understanding CBP One is pretty fundamental, I think.
Right. So CBP One, let's break that down. What was it?
Well, it was basically an online appointment app.
Okay.
Set up under the Biden administration.
Yeah.
For people at the U.S.-Mexico border trying to enter at, the official crossings.
Ah, okay. An app for appointments. When did it start?
January 2023. And the numbers are pretty significant.
How many?
Over 900,000 people actually used it to enter the U.S.
Wow. Nearly 1 million people. So it was like a managed way to seek entry?
That seems to be the idea, yeah. A more orderly process, maybe trying to handle the logistics at the border. And importantly, the permits they got through this gave them a temporary legal status in the U.S.
Okay, temporary legal status. And that's what's being canceled now.
That's the core of it. Those permits, which people understood to be valid for up to 2 years, they're being revoked.
And how are people finding out? This is the part that gets me.
Right. It's emails.
Yeah.
Just emails from the Department of Homeland Security.
Emails? Seriously?
Yeah, it started around late March. Often, apparently, with zero warning beforehand.
An email lands in your inbox saying your permission to be here is gone. That's unbelievable.
It really is. And it's so different from how major policy changes usually happen, right? Think about TPS cancellations.
Yeah, temporary protected status. That usually involves, official notices in the Federal Register, press releases.
Yeah.
A whole formal process.
Exactly. Formal channels, public record.
Yeah.
This email approach is, well, informal doesn't quite cover it. It feels almost ad hoc.
And it makes it harder to track, harder to challenge legally, maybe?
Potentially, yes. Less transparency, less public scrutiny. And TPS, just for anyone listening who might not know, that's for people from specific countries facing things like war or natural disasters.
Sure.
The contrast in communication is really stark.
Absolutely. And the emails themselves? What are they saying?
The reports vary slightly, but some are apparently telling people to leave immediately, right now.
Immediately.
Or, in other cases, giving them just 7 days.
7 days to pack up your life and leave. The anxiety, I can't even imagine.
And again, back to the start, even U.S. citizens like Hubert Montoya somehow got these notices. It's wild.
It really is. Which brings up huge questions about the data they're using, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How does a U.S. citizen end up on that mailing list? And then another immigration attorney, Timothy J. Brenner, but he got one too.
So it wasn't just a one-off error.
Doesn't seem like it. And Brenner raised a concern, could immigration attorneys be being targeted somehow? Which is a disturbing thought.
Definitely worrying. Okay, so what's the official word? Has CBP said anything?
They have confirmed, yes. They are sending out termination notices for the status granted under CBP One.
Okay, so they admit it.
Yes.
Yes.
But crucially, they haven't said how many people are getting them.
Ah, so we don't know the scale.
Not really. They just said it's not all 936,000 people who benefited as of December, but how many is it? We don't know.
That lack of information must just add to the fear.
Totally. CBP did offer a kind of explanation for the errors, like with the attorneys.
What did they say?
They suggested that maybe some notices went to attorneys because the beneficiaries, the immigrants themselves, had provided the lawyers' contact information on their forms.
Okay. I guess that's possible.
And they say they're looking at these errors case by case. But still, the overall lack of clarity is a big issue.
Yeah, case by case doesn't help the thousands wondering if an email is coming their way. The article mentions online chat groups. What's the mood there?
Exactly what you'd expect. Fear, confusion, chaos, really.
Right.
And some critics are saying maybe that confusion is part of the point, a
Yeah,
deliberate tactic.
that's a pretty cynical view, but you can see why someone might think that. Creating chaos to discourage people.
It's a possibility that's being raised. And sadly, it has real consequences.
Mm.
That attorney, Brenner, he mentioned 3 of his clients got the notices and just went back to El Salvador.
Oh, wow. They didn't wait or fight it, just left.
Just left. Out of fear, lack of clear information.
Yeah.
It's tragic, really.
That really illustrates the human cost. And Hillary Lee from the Justice Action Center, she pointed this out too, right? The problem of not knowing who's affected.
Exactly. She highlighted that attorneys and individuals are calling saying, I got this notice. What does it mean? What do I do? There's just no clear guidance.
And think about the timing. President Trump suspended CBP One for new people right away, on day 1.
Correct. For new arrivals, the door was shut.
But the people already here through the app, they thought they had that 2-year permit, that it was valid until it expired?
That was the general understanding, yes. A sense of, well, temporary stability at least. These cancellation notices just shattered that.
Yeah. Apparently the letters literally start with, "It is time for you to leave the United States."
Stark.
Robin Barnard from Human Rights first called it really confusing. And you can see why. You follow the rules, get this permit.
You rely on it.
Exactly. And then you hear through the grapevine, community chats, rumors.
Hmm.
Some people are getting these notices, others aren't. No big official announcement. It just breeds anxiety and mistrust, probably.
Huge amounts of anxiety. But it's worth noting there might still be options for some people.
Ooh, like what?
Attorneys are pointing out that if someone entered via CBP One and has been here less than a year,
Okay.
they might still be within the window to apply for asylum or maybe other forms of protection. It's not necessarily game over for everyone who gets a notice, but they need proper advice quickly.
Right, which is hard when things are so confused. And it seems like this isn't only hitting the CBP One folks.
No, it looks broader than that. The article mentions notices also going out to people who were under other kinds of temporary protection.
Like who?
Specifically, it mentions over 500,000 Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. These are people who arrived more recently, since late 2022.
How did they come in?
Through a different process, an online application, but they needed financial sponsors in the U.S., and they flew into U.S. airports. It wasn't the CBP One border app.
Okay, a different pathway.
Right.
And weren't there deportations on hold?
Yes, a federal judge in Massachusetts had put a temporary stop to deportations for that group. But now, they're apparently getting these notices too.
So it really does seem like a wider policy shift then, not just CBP One.
It points that way, yes. A broader reevaluation of these temporary relief programs from the last few years.
And the article had that story about Maria.
Ah, yes, the Nicaraguan woman, 48 years old. Her story is quite striking. She came through that sponsored process, not CBP One.
And she actually supported Trump's election, right?
Yes, which makes her reaction even more poignant. She said the notice felt like a bomb. It just paralyzed her.
Wow. Someone who followed the rules, got a sponsor, came legally, and supported the administration, still gets this notice.
It really shows the personal impact, the shock and fear, regardless of background or even political leaning. But she also said she plans to keep working and file for asylum.
That takes guts, despite the fear. Shows incredible resilience.
It really does. So if we sort of wrap this up,
Yeah.
The big picture is the Trump administration is moving quickly to undo some Biden-era immigration policies.
Yeah, CBP One cancellations being a prime example.
Right. And it's causing a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. The way it's being done, abrupt emails, not much official info, is very different from usual policy changes.
And incredibly, even U.S. citizens got caught in the net, at least initially.
Which highlights potential systemic issues.
So hopefully digging into this gives you, our listener, a better handle on what's happening right now in the immigration landscape. It's changing fast.
Absolutely. And maybe it leaves you with this thought to chew on. What does it really mean when policies like this, affecting hundreds of thousands of lives, can be reversed so suddenly, so informally? What are the broader implications, not just for the people directly involved, but for how we see stability, due process, the rule of law itself within the U.S. immigration system? What are the long-term effects when established processes seem so fragile?